What's going on, guys? Mr. Garcia here, talking about Module 2, Section 2, Linear Equations and Inequalities. So this one's kind of picking off from what we started on, was that Module 1, Section 3, I believe? Where we're discussing linear equations of like, hey, we're modeling it by looking at the recurring rate and then the fixed rate. That same idea still applies here. Now you actually just solve for x on some stuff. Okay, on number 1, I'm going to talk about 1, 3, 4, and 6. So if you have questions about number 2 and 5, please let me know. Number 1, we got a warehouse manager comparing two companies. Company A charges $20 plus $3 per pound. Whoop, my ears perked up to that per pound because I know in that case, $3 is your recurring, which means that the $20 is that one-time fee. So one time. Let me read the rest. Company B charges $5 plus $5 per pound. Well, in that case, doesn't really matter which one's recurring and which one's not. Technically, recurring, fixed, but whatever. For what rate, that's a hard word to say. For what weight W is it cost the same? Interesting. So we have two equations, two companies. Company A, who has this model, $3 recurring, and a one-time fee is $20. So that's your company A. Company B, who's very similar, except that they want to keep things simple at just $5 for both. When are these the same? What value of W would it be the same? So it looks like all we need to do is just set them equal to each other. What value W would be the same? And now we're just solving. So let's get all the W's to one side. We'll move this W over. We got 20 equals 2W plus 5. And then I like to get W by itself here. So let's subtract 5. And pause for a second while I'm doing this math. Whenever we say that as teachers, when we say get W by itself, that means you should not be moving W anymore. W just stays over here. Move everything else. Move that 5 over. Move that 2 over. Do all the things that get W by itself, which in this case does work out to be 7.5. But thank you for that question. I have been fighting internal temptations to not say get all the W's in the chat. Shout out to Drake. Okay, number 3 here, you got, literal equations. These are fun. So this is an Algebra 1 topic. What we're doing here is still solving for a variable, except that you're not actually simplifying. We're just applying the operations. So here's what I mean. We got your perimeter, P equals 2L plus 2W, which equation correctly isolates the width, or W, as in, hey, solve for W. So kind of like I just said in the last question. If we're solving for W, you want W by itself, so we're going to move everything else. Now, here's a good rule of thumb, especially if in equations you don't know what to do first. Always add or subtract first. And then you multiply or divide. Now, we typically always end up having to divide, mainly because it's always just like a number times something else. If you have a fraction, that's when you typically have to multiply. In this case, we want to get W by itself. That means I don't want this 2L on this side, and I don't want this 2. So let's move this entire 2L to the other side by doing the opposite operation, which is subtraction. Now in this case, P minus 2L is just P minus 2L. They don't combine together because they're different variables. You still have 2W on the other side. So then now let's divide by 2. We divide everything by 2. So W equals P minus 2L over 2. Lovely stuff there, which would be A in this case. Number 4, same idea, but now you have to create the equation. So fun stuff. So to manufacture a part, A machine requires a warm-up of 10 minutes, followed by a production time of 2.5 minutes per part. There we go, off the bat. If you haven't already, recurring, and then we got our fixed. It's per part, so I'll use P for part. It doesn't really matter in this case. I'll just say that. So the amount of time, T, is 2.5 minutes per part, plus an initial 10 minutes of warm-up. If the machine runs for, and actually same thing here, which expression models the number of parts produced, as in we're solving for P. So we'll subtract 10 on both sides. T minus 10 is just T minus 10. 2.5P will divide by 2.5. Good stuff there. Looks like it's also A. Great, awesome, good stuff. Okay, same thing for here, inequalities. Except that now we're just modeling in this case. You could still do linear equations with here, but just inequalities sometimes are just modeling for the most part, or solving as well. Okay, this is not a chart necessary to memorize. It becomes easier with practice. The biggest things to understand is when to use equal to or not. And so a good way always to put yourself in this situation, the good way to figure out what it is put yourself in that situation. For example, here, if I am a client and I got a max budget of $300, that means whatever money I spent better be under $300. It's okay if it's equal to $300, but I better not go over. So that maximum budget is going to be a less than or equal to. It can't exceed $300, but it's fine if it equals. Same thing here. On number 6, we got an 82 and 88 on the first 2 exams, but I want at least a 90. So what do I need to earn on the 3rd exam? That means if I want at least a 90 in the class, 2 things. My grade better be above a 90. So we're stuck in these 2 camps, the greater than camps. At least a 90. That means I am satisfied, I am content if I at least get a 90. And 90 is good. So we're going to be greater than or equal to 90. Now, finding averages, again, we haven't really talked about this too much, but to find an average, you just add up all the quantities and divide by how many there are. So we're looking at 3 tests here. And looks like they used the variable S for the 3rd exam. So we have our first test, second test, and this mystery 3rd test. The average of all those 3 tests is we add them together and divide by 3. We divide by 3 because there are 3 exams. So that would match also A. A lot of these are just A, it looks like. This one would be B, actually. And this one would also be A. Love to see that. That's so funny. All right. If you have any questions about inequalities or equations, definitely reach out. If not, thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Mavericks.